Starting in the name of Allah, the most merciful, mighty, and gracious to all. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and welcome to the class of research methodology. Dear students, in the last previous session, we discussed about the measurement of variables. As I told you, that we have two types of variables. One, those variables which we have clear the ability to directly measure them, like the height, weight, speed, etc. And some we have the variables which we don't have the capability to measure them directly. So then such sort of variables we want to measure, is it, with the indirect method, and that indirect method, that was clear, the measurement of variables. Then I told you that to measure the variables we need two different techniques. One was known as your scaling technique, and one was known as your operationalization or operational definition technique. If you remember, already we have discussed that under operational technique we have clear a construct or a concept, and we split that concept clear into different dimensions and elements, and upon each dimension or element then we make clear the questions. Like if you remember, in the last example I told you that do you like the math. Do you like the math, it is a question, it is a statement. Now this statement we want to measure, so therefore to measure such statement we need a scaling technique. And then in the last lecture number 15, we discussed the different type of scales in detail. Now some more about clear the measurement of variables. So today in lecture 16 we are going to study the goodness of measures. It means that whatever the questions we have developed and whatever the scales we are going to measure that statement or that question, now how much we are able to measure it correctly, is it, मतलब چې کوم question مونږه measure کول غواړو هغه کې څومره error به وي او څومره error به نه وي. How much we have the ability to measure it accurately or correctly. So that is known as our goodness of measures, is it, that how accurately we are going to measure our instrument is going to measure our questions. So that is the concept, that goodness of measure. Definitely when we want to measure our statements or questions, definitely the कम चे मुंग सरा error रथी दा लाजमी error रथी response के. अब question दलता दा दे चे why do scores vary. वली द scores चे कम दे सैशवा द measurement चे कम दे सैशवा दे के differences रथी, and these differences are simply known as your errors. So the errors चे कम दे, it can be systematic or it can be random. What do you mean by systematic and what do you mean by random? By systematic simply means this is just because of a system when we are going to apply. A system simply means that I'm going to measure, let's suppose clear an attitude. This attitude when I'm going to measure clear regarding to the employees, might be there is an age factor. Let's suppose satisfaction study about employees. Other employees which are, for example, earlierly came to the organization, and the people who are advanced in the organization, definitely just because of their age span of time, is it, their attitude, their response, their satisfaction will be different. This error will be definitely known as your systematic error, just because of the age factor of the employees. And then we have some random error there. Random error simply means, like for example, that our sampling is very much limited, is it, or sometime I got, let's suppose, a huge sample size, and sometime I got a very little sample size. So it means just because of the sample size, this is known as clear a random, let's suppose, error. After that we have that there is a two differences in what is being measured, Now the next thing, that is that there is a true difference in what is being measured. It simply means that what we are actually going to measure, that can also make a difference. Like suppose I have make a question here about the attitude of the individual, but look at her attitude. Our main concern is about the attitude of the individual or attitude of the employees. Rather to measure the attitude, clear all my question here, that is about the motivation of employees. Look at here, what I was basically concerned with. I was basically concerned with the attitude of employees. अब एटीट्यूड ना बजाय what my questionnaire is basically tapping to motivation question. It means what actually I want to measure and what really I am doing it. Is it? मतलब एटीट्यूड में फॉर एग्जांपल मेजर कवलो लेकिन एटीट्यूड पर बजाय मा टूल क्वेश्चन चकम दे अगा मोटिवेशन पर बरकी is it? So yo da error hamshtade like as a for example if you want to check the IQ level is it of a student up to check the IQ level of the student you just clear for example IQ level na ilawa chakam de taso lage let's suppose typing speed lage test ko wai ab typing speed chakam de sajwa da notes treat explain kai it doesn't clear tapping the IQ level of the student. It means simply that what we are actually want to measure and what practically we are doing. Second, we have that there are differences in stable characteristics of an individual response. Like for example, on the satisfaction measure, there are systematic differences in response based on the age of the responses. Sangache, initially I told you that this is the systematic error. Like for example, I want to measure the satisfaction level of employees. Just because of the age factor. Is it? Like some people are senior in the organization, some people for example they are in the mid of the organization, and some people they are the youngest in the organization. They came now in the organization. So definitely the people who came right now, their satisfaction is it, and the people who spent a lot of time in the organization, their satisfaction level will be different, and this difference will be definitely on the basis of your age factor. So that is simply known as your systematic error. That whole errors chance is chikam ratleshi. Dina elawa some more errors can be occur, and these errors or differences due to the short-term personal factors. What can be the personal factor? Like for example, mood of the person, is it? Swings of the person, fatigue, tiredness of the person, time constraint of a person. It can be a reason as well. Number 4, we have that some more errors, differences due to situational factors. What is situational factors? Situational factors, for example, that calling someone may be distracted by something versus full attention. Like for example, when I called to a person and he was in an emergency, or he was for example distorted by someone else, the person who was distorted, disturbed, clear due to any situational factor, due to any emergency, and the person who was fully relaxed, so definitely when they will feel clear the questionnaire, they will give us the interview or discussion, there will be a difference in their responses. Is it? Just because of the situational factors. Then we have differences resulting from variation in administrating the survey. What this survey, for example, error will be, might be the voice inflection, the voice problem, and might be the verbal and non-verbal communication, the wordings of the questionnaire, that can also create the error. Then we have the differences due to the sampling of items. Initially I told you random error de. Like for example, sometimes you took a very large sample and sometimes you took a very little or limited sample. So large sample and limited sample, is it? It will also clear limit your error. So it will also create the error. So therefore it simply says that due to the sampling of items included in the questionnaire, like as I told you, that small set of data and limited samples can also create the error, and such type of errors are known as your random errors. Now 7, we have some more errors, some more sources, clear, and these errors can be the difference due to the lack of clarity in measurement instrument. Like for example, it simply says that sometimes that inside the instrument means tools, any of the tool, like interview, is it? We collect the data, so we use different tools, different instruments. Like for example, the telephonic interview, is it? The face-to-face interview, the questionnaire, the survey method, is it? The recording, all these are the different instruments. So now it says sometimes that there is an unclarity in the instrument, unclear questions in the instrument, like unclear or ambiguous questions in the questionnaire. Like for example, I would like to explain. Suppose you want to ask from an individual, clear, that how frequently you go to cinema. The question is valid. It is a valid question, that how frequently you go to the cinema. Lekin it is an unclear or it is an ambiguous question. Matlab that is an unclear or weak question, because how frequently you go to cinema. How frequently? Delta your lafaz you share there, how frequently. Is it? Frequently means, what does you mean? Frequently within a day, frequently within a couple of days, frequently within a month, within a week, within a quarter. Frequently na samurate. Aya hafta ke, for example या day के या couple of days के या week के, सही हुआ. So it means that how frequently, here frequent is not explained, that is not clear, it is ambiguous. So sometime within the question here we have some unclear question as well. So just because of these unclear questions, clear ambiguous questions, the respondent may not able to get the question and he or she totally make an error in the response. Then number 8, we have some more errors, and the source is differences due to mechanical or instrument factors. Like as I told you, the blurred question, is it unwake question, unclear question, and sometimes the bad phone connections as well. Hope inshallah आइए will be clear. कोई blurred question, blurred question मतलब the boundary is not clear. Like for example, the aim is not clear. Like this type of if you want to ask from an individual that when you joined your first job, is it, what was the name of the boss? What was the name of the boss? It means that is a very blurred question. सही हुआ, that is not a clear question. This is question से aim नहीं मालूम. अब first job मतलब who remind clear the name of the boss of the within the first job. अब that is a an unobjective question. That is known as a blur type of question. So these are the differences errors make when we measure clear the instrument, or we measure clear the variables through instrument. As I told you that once we have operationalized, it simply means that we have showed that we have transformed or split our concept into different dimensions. Now the thing is that to make sure that these instruments, it can be a test, it can be an interview, whatever the technique we are using, so that is known as instrument. So now that these instruments develop to measure a concept, a construct, a variable accurately and appropriately. So now we want to study that either our instrument, our tool which we have developed to measure clear a question or a variable, is it accurately measure the concept, is it appropriately measure the concept or not. For this purpose we need two further concepts. Number one, measures what is supposed to be measured. It simply means that whatever the thing we want to measure, we are measuring the right thing or not. Second, that measure as well as possible. It means clear to more extent whatever we are going to measure, we should make it possible to measure. Up the thing, measure what is supposed to be measured, is it? That is known as your simply validity. And measure as well as possible. Is it clear? That is known as your reliability. So here simply means that the one concept is validity and the second concept is reliability. What is validity? Validity checks as to how well an instrument, a tool that is developed to measure the concept. It simply means that how, let's suppose clear, well we are going to measure a concept. It means we want to measure attitude, is it? Really our instrument is going to measure the attitude, or that is measuring something else, is it? So it means we want to measure attitude. So how accurately we are measuring clear how, for example, that attitude. So it means that is the validity of an instrument. Then we have reliability. Reliability simply means the consistency, the accurateness, how accurate our responses are, how consistent our results are, is it? That is simply known as reliability. Now let me explain again the concept of validity and reliability with an example. Suppose students, you want to measure the temperature of a patient. For this, to want to measure the temperature, you need an instrument, you need a tool, is it? You need, for example, a device, and that device is known as your thermometer. For example, your patient de taso agay taba check kawal gwari, say shwa che aya taba lari kana lari. Ab taba check kawalo de para, definitely to check the temperature we need an instrument, and that instrument is known as thermometer, is it or not? Up to check the temperature you need instrument thermometer, is it? Is it thermometer a valid tool to check the temperature? No, that's which yes sir, it is a valid tool. So means that this thermometer to check the temperature, that is a valid tool. that's one chiki dekha na. So I want to check the temperature of a patient and I have to use clear the weighing machine. Weight machine it means when I'm using the weight machine to check the temperature of an individual, so this instrument is not a valid instrument. The real instrument is what? The valid instrument is thermometer to check the temperature. Once I used this thermometer, this instrument to check the, let's suppose, temperature, it gives me 90, let's suppose 99 result. It means that there is a, for example, 1 point temperature, let's suppose, of the patient. After 1 hour, again I use the thermometer, and that clear again give me the 99.99, let's suppose, result. Is it? Again next time when I used clear, again it gives me the 99 result. I tried to use this instrument clear in the, for example, 3 times. I use this instrument for the 3 times, and every time it gives me almost the same results. So it means that there is a consistency in the results. Wale che bya takriban yaw rakam lage result rakai. Is it the instrument? Now the kam thermometer che I have used to check the temperature, it gives me clear the same results. There is an accuracy in the result, there is a consistency in the result. So it means that this instrument is reliable as well. So hope inshallah now this time the idea will be clear to you that what is validity and what is reliability. So validity simply means that whatever the thing we are using to measure our concept, so our instrument is valid, that is the really, for example, instrument to measure that thing, so that is known as the validity. And when this instrument will give us clear the consistent and stable and accurate result again and again, so simply we will say that this instrument has a reliability. So to check the goodness of a measure, we need the instrument validity and we need the instrument reliability. And don't be confused, again I'm using the word instrument. So in research, instrument simply mean it can be a test, it can be a questionnaire, it can be a survey, it can be an interview, it can be a face-to-face interview, it can be a discussion. So all these are simply known as your tools or instruments. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Now let's start from the first, reliability. What is reliability? The diagram ta sokhpala notes ki ugori saishwa chegora goodness of fit data ki kamde. We are studying about reliability and we are studying about validity. Reliability simply, as I told you, accuracy in measurement, while validity simply means measuring the right thing. Saishwa uskura reliability ke we are using to study 2 things. One is stability and one is consistency. Gura the stability chikamde the 2 tariko sar study kigi. One is test retest reliability and parallel form reliability. Or back consistency chikamde the inter item consistency reliability and split half reliability. Matlab under reliability we will discuss stability first and then we will discuss consistency. Our consistency practically chikamde saishwa de para we have a coefficient, and that is known as the way Cronbach coefficient. Is it? Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. लेकिन Cronbach चिकम दे सही Cronbach अल्फा देता इस्तेफादा की सही कंसिस्टेंसी मालूम वाले दे पारा और अगर रेट चिकम दे अगर मोस्ट टीचर दे 0. तकरीबन 7 परी. Is it? If का Cronbach alpha coefficient 0.7 पर राशि, it means that your instrument is reliable. ब्याच दे we have validity. अब validity के we have the logical validity, चाहिए तमुगा face validity हम वही. We have the criterion related validity, matlab it is the predictive validity and it is the concurrent validity. And then we have the congruent validity, which is known as the convergent or discriminant validity. Saishwa? Now let's start Saishura from the first, and that is reliability. Ab already reliability ho mata sula first explain what is reliability. Reliability simply means the accuracy in the results of an instrument. Ab reliability chikam de देखिए we discuss the 2 things. One is the stability and one is the internal consistency. Up for stability, Saishwala, we first require stability, and stability we can measure with the help of test retest. What is test retest? Test retest simply says that use the same instrument, administer the test shortly after the first time. If you notice, use the same instrument shortly after the first time, taking measurement as close to the original conditions as possible to the same participants. Suppose Gora, I have a group of some participants, is it? अब दे ग्रुप के I have let's suppose 5 to 10 people. देखिए माँ सारा 5 to let's suppose 10 खलक दी, is it? That is the group of the some respondents. सही हुआ? अब let's suppose 1 week सही हुआ माँ देना यो questionnaire या face to face let's suppose या यो individual हम की दीशी. It can be a group, it can be an individual. सही हुआ? There's an example सिर्फ था थोड़ा idea clear को मच idea clear शी. अब for example I have a group of 5 to 10 people, is it? अब 1 week let's suppose यो हफ्ता पहला सही हुआ माँ दोनों यो इंटरव्यू वाखस्ता या क्वेश्चनियर में फिल करो, इज इट? अब अपॉन कंप्लीशन ऑफ 1 वीक सही हुआ यो हफ्ता 13 हुआ या 2 हफ्ते 13 हुए. नाउ नेक्स्ट वीक 3rd वीक के सही हुआ 3rd वीक के रालमा एंड अगेन आई एम गोइंग टू लेट्स सपोज फुलफिल क्वेश्चनियर और इंटरव्यू फ्रॉम सच अ ग्रुप. अब व्हाट डज इट मीन? फ्रॉम द सेम रिस्पोंडेंट under the same conditions, once I let's suppose fill the questionnaire, and then after in the 3rd week again I clear fill the questionnaire. So what I am doing, from the same respondents I am clear filling the questionnaire, and this is known as test retest. That first I use the test, and after in the 3rd week again I use clear the retest. So that is the thing that is known as test retest. That's one I tested, is it? And in the next 3rd year again I'm testing clear the same instrument on the same group, same respondent within the same condition. If in the both week the responses are correlated or the responses are same, so it means that is known as your test retest reliability. So therefore it simply says that use the same instrument shortly after the first time. मतलब यो वीक के में यूज करो बिया में द्रेम वीक के दोबारा रालमा सही हुआ. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल यो कस माना इंटरव्यू आखली या टेस्ट आखली यो हफ्ते के माना टेस्ट वाली 3 हफ्तों पर दोबारा माना टेस्ट वाली उसका द्वारा फर्स्ट टाइम और 3rd वीक सही हुआ द्वारा टाइम्स के जमा से कम रिस्पॉन्स द सेम डे. सो इट मीन्स दैट इंस्ट्रूमेंट हैज द स्टेबिलिटी एंड दिस टेक्निक दिस मेथड इज नोन एज योर टेस्ट रीटेस्ट reliability. I hope inshallah idea will be clear. That's your theoretical concept just to make your idea clear. Now the next technique, the next reliability, that is equivalent reliability या देता मुंगा parallel form reliability हम बोली. अब what does it mean? It simply stated that 2 questionnaires designed to measure the same thing are administered to the same group, to the same group on 2 separate occasions. सही हुआ. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल गोरा देखिए से देखिए 2 क्वेश्चनियर जुड़ेगी, इज इट? वाले जुड़ेगी बिकॉज वी वांट टू मेजर द सेम कॉन्सेप्ट एंड टू द सेम ग्रुप ऑन 2 डिफरेंट ओकेजन्स. मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल द शुमा सरा 2 क्वेश्चनियर देखिए 2 क्वेश्चनियर जुड़ी दी, क्वेश्चनियर 1 सही हुआ एंड क्वेश्चनियर 2. अब द क्वेश्चनियर 1 क्वेश्चनियर 2 दोड़ो के चेदे सही हो दोड़ो के फॉर एग्जांपल एटीट्यूड या सेटिस्फेक्शन पर बारा की क्वेश्चन दी. दिस क्वेश्चनियर कंटेन्स ऑन एटीट्यूड, दिस क्वेश्चनियर आल्सो कंटेन ऑन एटीट्यूड क्वेश्चन, इज इट? मतलब आवर कॉन्सेप्ट इज नाउ एटीट्यूड. वी वांट टू मेजर द एटीट्यूड ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज. अब दिस क्वेश्चनियर दे के चेदे टोल क्वेश्चन एटीट्यूड पर बारा की दी. क्वेश्चनियर सेकंड, इज इट? इट आल्सो कंटेन्स टू टैप क्लियर to measure the attitude of the employee. लेकिन देखिए हम लस क्वेश्चन दी, देखिए हम लस क्वेश्चन दी. अब द्वारा एटीट्यूड पर बारा की दी सही हुआ द्वारा यो रकम क्वेश्चन दी लेकिन अगुई वर्डिंग जुदा दी. like जवाया मकना how much for example you feel about the organization and what about the feeling of yours clear about the organization. अब दा यो क्वेश्चन दे लेकिन सिर्फ वर्डिंग में जुदा करी दी. अब द्वारा कम क्वेश्चनियर से कम दे मुंग यो ग्रुप ना या यो इंडिविजुअल ना तपोज कहू इन डिफरेंट ओकेजन्स. अब such kind of clear गोरा such kind of let's suppose दलते चिकम खलक नास्ते sexual दलते चिकम group नास्ते suppose they will first clear fill that questionnaire and they will then fill clear this one questionnaire in 2 different conditions. If their responses are same, is it? Whatever the person is ticked here, the same person will tick here as well here, is it? Like for example the way your product they sexual how do you feel about that product, is it? और दे product के जवाब में I don't like this और देखिए हम अंदर को क्वेश्चन दे लेकिन वर्डिंग जुदा दी सही हुआ. नो दलता हम वही आई डोंट लाइक दिस सही हुआ प्रोडक्ट. सो इट मीन्स इन बोथ द क्वेश्चनियर माई रिस्पॉन्स इज डोंट लाइक, माई रिस्पॉन्स इज सेम. सो दैट इज द सिचुएशन क्लियर. दिस मेथड दिस टेक्निक इज नोन एज इक्विवेलेंट और पैरेलल फॉर्म ऑफ रिलायबिलिटी. सो नाउ गो 2 क्वेश्चनियर्स डिजाइन टू मेजर द सेम थिंग. Same thing means same concept like attitude and attitude. are administered to the same group पर यो group माने apply कई on two separate occasion जुदा जुदा occasion की मतलब यो week के और ब्याह चले यो 2 week न पास दोबारा apply की सही हुआ so that it when they will have the same responses so that will it means that the instrument has a parallel form reliability लेकिन that is time consuming दे सही हुआ लेकिन दा हम यो method चले researcher mostly research के इस्तेफादा कई then the second as I told you that under the reliability we will study the consistency as I told you that in reliability we will study two concepts one is stability and one is consistency now stability already we have discussed now the next concept that is consistency we have internal consistency reliability what is internal consistency reliability let me first give you the explanation is it if you remember in the last lecture when I was explaining the operational definition I told you that once we have a concept we split up into different dimensions and elements then upon each element is it we make the different questions is it these questions are known as your items the question होता है items वही a common statement में जोड़ी करी हुई सही हुआ example okay उस गुरा चे the item if let's suppose your come item ही अगुई nature same ही and they have a correlation is it चे कला items ता मंस की correlation ही या they are hang together दा यो शांति सही हुआ तकरीबन meaning है यो शांति they tar मंस की correlation ही so it means that the instrument has an internal consistency reliability I would like to give an example that was example तरह ताशुरा तशरीह कमा their definition तरह दा गुरी I have a concept here in rich job is it in rich job I have divided into different dimensions gura offering challenges provides autonomy uses clear all the skills of the worker offers a whole job and not fragmented work offers a sense of meaningfulness and offers feedback da maga ter example le uskura the different dimension the different element the padi mane ma question hi jodi kadi like for example to what extent do you find your job challenges अब look at the first question to what extent do you find your job challenging this is your question number 1 is it उस दल तराशी बचे question number 9 तराशी look at here how good do you feel about the challenges that your job offers what do you think the यो रकम question दी ना question number 1 and question number 9 तकरीबन यो रकम दी दा गोरा to what extent do you find your job challenges मतलब तासु सो गोरी चे तासु job सूरा challenging दे तासु दे पारा और दल तसे वही how good do you feel about the challenging that your job offers it means तकरीबन the द्वारा question है यो रकम दी it means these are correlated so when items these are correlated these are hanged together मतलब दा तकरीबन यो शांति sense work है so when the question the items clear having the hang together or they are correlated or तकरीबन they are same सही हुआ so it means simply that is known as your internal consistent reliability it means the instrument has internal consistent reliability now look at the definition this is a test of the consistency of respondents answers is it to all the items in a measure the items should hang together गोरा hang together मतलब थोड़ा चले यो बलसरा correlated दी तकरीबन यो रकम sense work है so it means the items mean questions are independent measures of the same concept they will correlated with one another so it means when the items are correlated or hang together so it means that the instrument has a internal consistency now as I told you चगुरा consistency दे पारा Cronbach alpha चकम दे सही दा मुंगसरा दागा इस्तेफादा की as a coefficient इस्तेफादा की और the value चकम दा that is 0.7 दे in multi response is it लेकिन कला for example when we have a dichotomous scale item no बया मुंगसरा यो बल item use कीगी यो बल coefficient use कीगी and that is known as the Cuder-Richardson formula सही अगे तमंगा Cuder-Richardson formula way mostly hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear now we will move da khotola khabara tayshura about the consistency reliability man ushwala now we are going to study about the validity us like discussion chikam de validity babarake uku as I told you what is validity means simply valid means simply sahi It means that whatever the instrument you are going to use to measure the concept, is that instrument is sahi to measure that concept or not. Like for example, as I told you, you want to measure the temperature of an patient, is it? Up to tap the temperature, to measure the temperature of a patient, you need an instrument, you need a tool, and that tool is the thermometer, is it? It means when you want to measure the temperature of an patient, you need a tool. This tool, thermometer, that is a valid sahi tool to measure the temperature, is it? It means that this instrument is a valid, is it? That's an issue. To measure the temperature, we need clear a measuring weighing machine. सही शो रहा या फॉर एग्जांपल स्पीडोमीटर सर हम टेम्परेचर नशु मालूम वाला है. सो इट मीन्स टू मेजर द कॉन्सेप्ट वी नीड अ सही इंस्ट्रूमेंट, is it? So it means when an instrument has clear, for example, this power to capacity, this capacity or this power to measure the concept, so that is simply known as, that characteristic is simply known as validity. No zaka deta munga wayu che validity simply means that what was intended to be measured was actually measured or not. It simply means whatever we want to measure, we are actually measuring the same thing or not. That is simply known as validity. Now we are going to discuss the different types of validity. Gura told na pehla, that is a face validity. What is face validity? Actually face validity is a subjective validity. Subjective validity simply means che yo expert che kam de सही शो अगर सिर्फ उगुरी तासो क्वेश्चनियर अगर तासो तो हुई che da kam de, let's suppose da valid de sahi de kana de ki che sura dimension sura question di ata so sahi put kadi di ke nari put kadi. No zaka that is subjective in nature. It simply means that a senior person will look at your questionnaire or instrument, and then he will subjectively tell to you, is it that this let's suppose questionnaire methodology or instrument will be valid or not. So that is known as simply your face validity. Like for example, you experience customer kala wayu kana che sarji da question ma sahi kare de ya da method sahi de no ai che kala uguri atas to hui chao da bilkul sahi de. It means that clear this instrument is the face validity da sahi de. This is one of the weakest tool na kamzore validity da. Sahi shwa? Researcher simply looks at the measurement instrument and concludes, give you the result that it will measure what is intended. Sahi shwa? No, that this amunga simply wayu face validity. Then we have some content validity. Look at here, what is content? If you focus on the word content, is it? Content here simply means all items, is it? All dimensions. Simply that's also all item ki dishi ya item mean taso total question hai ya taso different dimensions ki dishi ya taso different, for example, elements ki dishi. It means whatever the concept you have, whatever the construct you have, whatever the variable you have, subject to variable. The variable के कम हम तासो dimensions आखस्ती दी, elements आखस्ती दी. अगर the total elements or dimensions sexual, these are leading to the, for example, same concept or not. For example, जब तासो your idea दर कमा गोरा. Suppose your job description index जोड़ा वाला वाड़ा मा. I want to construct a job description index. Job description index मतलब दा दे job description पर बरा के for example यो questionnaire दे. दे दे 5 dimensions दी. कम dimension दी गोरा regular promotion, fairly good chance for promotion, is it? The second dimension show income adequate, third dimension highly paid, fourth dimension good opportunity for the advancement, that shows also fifth dimension. All these dimensions, 5 dimensions, these are tapping clear to a concept, and that concept is job description. सही हुआ? उस दलता वायमा let's suppose motivation या दलता वायमा aspiration या for example नोरम आसान कमा दलता वायमा recalling, recall या recalling, memorization. No, दा हम your dimension दे आया दा dimension चिकम दे recalling, is it? For example, the recalling चे दे, is it linked with the job description? No, it is not linked. It means this dimension is not valid. Why? Because it is not connected with the job description. All the 5 are connected with the job description. Lekin this dimension is not correlated, not, for example, connected with the job description. So it means that this is not valid. No chikala all dimensions, all items, or elements, they are correlated, connected, linked, clear with your concept. So it means we can simply say that this validity is a content validity. Now definition to the degree to which the instrument items mean questions, represent the universe of the concepts under the study. It means tool items, tool dimensions, or tool elements, when they represent the same concept. As I told you, concept matlab your variable which you are going to study. So simply means that is known as your content validity. अब how well the dimensions and elements of a concept have been delineated मतलब چې څوره ښه ټول items or elements لیکل شوي دي and دا ټول چې کوم دی دا تاسو concept سره related دي صحیح شو so that is simply we can say that it is known as that instrument has a content validity मतलब instrument چې څوره content دی دا صحیح شو concept سره relevant دي hope inshallah beta idea will be clear. Now we have the criterion related validity. Gura, if you remember when I taught you the variable concept. So initially I told you that one we have the dependent variable and one we have the independent variable. Sahi shua? Us da kura che kam dependent variable de, which depend on the other variables. Now dependent variable has another name which is known as criterion variable. Is it? So now here is criterion related validity. Of what it says? It simply says the degree to which the measurement instrument can predict a variable. Is it? मतलब dependent variable known as the criterion variable. अब the definition चे कम दे दा वजह दाखल example सर clear कमा दा वही गोरे. Suppose the I have three variables. All two variables हो गई. First variable that is motivation. Is it? Up motivation is leading to the satisfaction of employees. Like if employees are motivated, they will be satisfied. Is it or not? It means motivation is leading to satisfaction. Is it? Satisfaction depend upon on the motivation. Lekin if you look at here, motivation is also connected with the performance. If people performing well, they will be motivated, and if they are motivated, they will be satisfied. So it means motivation is connected with the performance. So when the motivation dependent variable is depend upon another variable, is it? And there is a relationship, a correlation between motivation and performance, is it? So it means that this characteristic of an instrument is simply known as criterion related validity. Matlab where one variable, the dependent variable, that is connected, that is correlated with some rest of the other variables. Is it? That validity is simply known as your criterion related validity. उस criterion related validity कम दा सही दा दो तरीकों से हल कीगी. यो तमुंगा वो यू predictive validity. अब गोरा by the name it is clear predictive validity. Predictive means that where it can predict the dependent variable. सही हुआ? Like for example गोरा, if an aptitude or ability test administered to employees at the time of recruitment is to differentiate individuals on the basis of their future job performance. So those who score low on the test should be poor performers, and those who with high scores good performers. Your organization they want to hire the people, and at the hiring time, clear at the recruitment time, they conduct a test from the people. This test can be an aptitude or ability test. Of the people who, for example, scored well in the test, it means that they will be a good performer in the organization in future. And the people, for example, who score, let's suppose, less clear in the aptitude test, might be there is a chance that they will not be a good matlab training zaroorat der zyati. What does it mean? It means in this test, this instrument, that is basically what they are doing, that is projecting clear the behavior of an individual in the future on the current test. Is it? So it means behavior either they will be a good performer or they will not be a good performer. Yeah, low performer or high performer. The low performer or high performer for the future, they projection lagi projection lagi agar test kai. So it means when test has the ability, is it, that it can project the behavior of the individual, high performer, low performer for the future, it means they are predicting the behavior of the individual, clear, for the future. So then we can say that this is a predictive validity of a test. मतलब they test के दूरा सलाहियत शता चिदा test कम दे employee behavior future दे पारा predict कवलेशी. लेकिन गोरा दा डेर common होने खबर है ना चाहिए student कम दे सही हुआ अगर like suppose first semester के marks खदी, second semester के marks खदी, third semester के marks खदी, fourth semester के हम marks खदी. Now I can predict this student clear has, let's suppose, good score in the all fourth of the semester, so this person will definitely get good marks in fifth and sixth semester as well. What does it mean? On the basis of the past performance, I am predicting that this will perform well in the fifth and sixth semester just because of the previous score. Now it means that this instrument has a predictive validity because here I am predicting the behavior of the individual for the future. Now that shows predictive validity. Nugura, it is the ability of the test or measure to differentiate among individuals with reference to the future criterion, future variable. Sexual like a behavior future predict coalition. Then we have the concurrent validity. What is concurrent validity? اول بس تاسو لك example clear كمان سيشوا ده ان شاء الله تاسو مكمله idea clear كي. If you focus on the word concurrent سيشوا अब suppose زي تاسو example دركوما I have two group of people. that is مثلا for example group 1 people سيشوا and that is for example group 2 people. that is مثلا here I have group 2 people. अब some people are here in group 1 سيشوا 10 to 15 people and 10 to 15 people are in group 2. अब suppose سيشوا work ethics ببركة work ethics ببركة is it organizational work ethics ببركة that is E ده E ده लिखा लो कि problem दे سيشوا बस कोशिश करूँ कि इंशाल्लाह concept clear شيء it is a variable. अब work ethics ببركة سيشوا ده चकम group 1 दे سيشوا these are very much optimistic. that is that optimistic थी optimistic मतलब enthusiastic शायद पुरजोश है दी. लेकिन group 2 चकम खलक थे दा पुरजोश न दी सहीशवा मतलब simply group 1 खलक they are active they welcome work ethics and group 2 चकम खलक दे सहीशवा दा चकम दे दा active न दी they don't like सहीशवा work ethics. Suppose अब यो questionnaire for example we want to fill from group 1 people and group 2 people. अब I know that the response of the group 1 will be different from response of the group 2. Reason because these people are dull not optimistic and group 1 people are optimistic. सही दा मतलब y खलक थी theory y चिकम y और दा theory x खलक थी डल खलक थी. No definitely I know that group 1 खलको response will be different from the group 2 खलको response. So when this instrument sexual questionnaire will make a difference in the response of both the groups. सहीशवा कल दा द्वाड़ो रिस्पॉन्स हालांकि आई नो कि द्वाड़ो रिस्पॉन्स पर जुदा जुदाई सहीशवा लेकिन कल फॉर एग्जांपल च द इंस्ट्रूमेंट द्वाड़ो रिस्पॉन्स के डिफरेंशिएशन कवलेशी इट मींस दिस instrument has the concurrent validity. Reason because this instrument practically I know that both the groups response will be different. So when this instrument really makes a differentiation in the response of both the groups, so we can say that the for example instrument has a concurrent validity. So let's now look at here is established when the scale discriminates means differentiation फर्क कवल individuals who are known to be different that is they should score different on the score. मतलब I know सहीशवा चिदा द्वारा चिकम दे डले चिकम दी their response will be different. No by चिदा मुंग scale चिकम दे for example अगई चो की अगई let's suppose देखे फर्क रावली suppose तास तो है मां गोरा चिमा सारे यो group they like football और यो group they like cricket सही sports के उस गोरा च फुटबॉल वाला कम ग्रुप थे अगुई ब क्रिकेट पर बारे के या क्रिकेट च कम ग्रुप अगुई फुटबॉल का बारे के देयर रिव्यूज विल बी डिफरेंट. नो जमा इंस्ट्रूमेंट कल च रियली डिफरेंसेस क्रिएट कवल इशू द्वारो रिस्पांसेस के नो वी कैन से दैट आवर इंस्ट्रूमेंट सहीशवा आवर क्वेश्चनियर हैज द कंकरेंट वैलिडिटी. अंदर एग्जांपल गोरा इंडिविजुअल्स हु आर हैप्पी एट अवेलिंग वेलफेयर एंड इंडिविजुअल्स हु प्रेफर टू डू जॉब या एंथुसियास्टिक मस्ट स्कोर डिफरेंटली ऑन द स्केल और इंस्ट्रूमेंट व्हिच मेजर्स वर्क एथिक्स from those who would not want to work even when offered a job. So both will respond differently. Same thing which I have explained. So hope inshallah concurrent validity will be clear to you. Now the next thing that is construct validity. What is construct validity? By the name it is clear construct. Construct means theoretical aspect. So does the measurement conform to some underlying theoretical expectations or testifies to how well the results obtained from the use of the measure fit the theories around which the test is designed? If so, then the measure has a construct validity. By the name it is given construct validity, theoretical aspect. Is it? Like for example, Gora, whatever Gora har yo daga de para variable de para definitely theoretical framework munga study ko. No theoretical framework na munga daga variable dra khasti. Sahi उस गोरा प्रीवियस स्टडी लगे थ्योरी के चुवई च लेट सपोज सप्लाई और डिमांड के कनेक्शन स्टडे नो जमा च कम फॉर एग्जांपल कोरिलेशन दे अलता हम कोरिलेशन रसी के न रसी लेकिन जता सवाय मा सपोज च गोरा प्रीवियस थ्योरी वई च मनी एंड सैटिस्फैक्शन दे आर हाईली कोरिलेटेड सहीशवा द प्रीवियस थ्योरीज वई लगे च मनी and employee satisfaction, they are highly correlated. उस चक्कर मा सर for example ज़िलगे money और satisfaction employees search कवल वाड़ा मा नो आया जमा theory के money और satisfaction highly correlated रची करना रची सही हुआ. So now it means I must have to correlate my correlation clear with the previous construct, previous theoretical expectation. Previous theory गाने से वही और जमा theory से वही. My theory, my assumptions, my hypothesis, for example my analysis is concurrent clear with the theory or not, matlab that is supposed to be with the theory concerns or not. So whatever the previous theory says tashura dama analysis hum according to them they kannare like tolo ta pata that demand and supply ke connection stare lekin dama theory wahi. So dama hypothesis akhira ke rachi china demand or supply ke so fark nashtare. It means tashwa che dama che kam instrument te it doesn't have clear have the construct validity. Lekin when my theory also says demand and supply या money and satisfaction employee they are connected, it means previous theory hum da wahi. So it simply means that our concept our instrument has the construct validity. So now look at the example. If we are measuring the consumer attitudes, consumer attitude measure kaval wadu about product purchases, then do the measure adhere to the construct of consumer behavior theory or not. So consumer theory behavior theory ki chikamunga concept rakhasti variable rakhasti sahi that tapping kai agar theory relevant or na kai. So simply that is for the academic researcher approach de parada. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear, and this lecture was simply the goodness clear of measurement. It means how good we can measure our variables. In other words, how we can delete the errors from the organization. From the measuring of the variable. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Thank you so much.